Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Dramaturgy Podcast. I know. What has taken you so long? I know. I should probably have done a final review of this drama a long time ago. But honestly, I somehow could not bring myself to watch the last four episodes, and I don't know why. But finally, I've gotten to it and I've watched the last four episodes, and I just want to talk about one specific thing. So yeah, here we are then. Um, in this episode, I am covering Queen of Tears, giving my not review really. I feel like generally everybody likes this drama, right? It's as of today like TVN's highest rated drama. So it's popular and it's well loved. So I don't have a lot to say about the drama in that sense. I think it was good for its run. I got bored, of course, which is why it took me so long to watch the last four episodes. But generally, it was okay. That said, there is one thing I want to talk about that I noticed in this drama, and perhaps it's me that's like becoming kind of jaded. And so it's more difficult for me to enjoy dramas like this. Or maybe it's just this drama does it so much that it's to an extent where I can't take it. As I was watching this drama, there's one thing I noticed, and that was the fact that the male lead and the second male lead were kind of perfect. And you're probably like, what? Why does that matter? Or like, why is that a point to note? But for me, for some reason, it was jarring, and I don't know why. Which is funny because if you go back and watch my first two episode first impression of this drama, you hear me talk about how I think like the male lead is a huge red flag because he was so happy when he like found out she was dying, and I was really really like taken aback by that, and it gave me the ick kind of, right? And so I talk about that, and so you can watch my first review of this drama where I talk about that. And so coming from that to this where like it's almost the extreme opposite of what he was in the first few episodes. I find it just interesting, and maybe that's why I find it so jarring that I had to talk about it, because Baekhyun is written to be too perfect, and that kind of like does not resonate well with me. And it might seem like I'm just complaining, like why would that be an issue? But I don't know, there's just something about a character that is too perfect that it's unbelievable. And I mean, to an extent, that's why I watch dramas, but I was shocked by how perfect they wrote him. And he had almost no faults whatsoever, in terms of just like characteristics, specs, education, everything was perfect, right? And I was a little like miffed about that. Not too much, but just enough to talk about it for a whole episode on this podcast. So the first time like you get a sense of like this perfect man, at least for me, is when they are in the hunting ground, and Ongain is attacked by the bear, right? Baekhyun swoops in and he shoots the bear down and saves her life, right? Later, they're in this room. Ongain is talking to her family members, and they assume that like, how was he able to get a perfect shot? It was probably luck and all these things, because again they underestimate him a lot. And then Ongain mentions that actually he's like a military star, like um officer kind of thing. Like he had one of the highest grades, it was a star shooter kind of thing, right? I think it was like the I'm not sure if it was the Navy or like the Marines. Anyway, like he was like best student in like in the military, right? And so he was like a perfect like shooter. And at first I'm like, okay. I mean, it's nice that they give him some like good characteristics, like some like cool characteristics that the audience is like, oh okay, it's kind of cooler than we expect, because up to this point we've only seen him like crying over Ongain and just like moping around. So we don't think much of him other than the fact that he's a lawyer. And so okay, I'm fine with this at this point. And then later down the line, and maybe they introduced this earlier and I just like missed it. And maybe it makes sense that this is like a fact, because he is the legal head of a conglomerate. And I think my mind just like defaulted to like he got the position because he was their son-in-law. But no, actually he also went to like Seoul National University, which, if you know, it's like the top university in South Korea. For anyone who's ever seen Sky Castle and a bunch of other like parents drama, penthouse kind of like dramas, you know that like this is a big deal. Seoul National University, Korea, I think University, and Yonsei University. These are like the biggest schools in South Korea. And so he graduated top from that school as well. At this point, I'm like, okay, it's still fine. Like, his character is smart. It makes sense. To marry somebody like Ongin that's beautiful and everything, you have to certainly be up there, right? But it keeps going. Right, at some point when Ongain's stalker of an ex sends people to come and like beat him up and all that nice stuff, you also find out that he's like a pro boxer and he won a lot of medals boxing as well. And I'm just like, okay, so he's not only a nice guy, handsome, graduated top of his class from one of the best universities, he's also like an amazing boxer. And and I'm just like, that's a lot for one person, right? Like, and again, maybe it makes sense because again, she's a chaebol. Of course, she would marry like the best of the best, right? But for a second there, I was just like, I wish they had given him some like quality that kind of humanize him a bit, especially because he was supposed to be the one that was relatable. Ongain is not supposed to be relatable in any way because again, she's a chaebol heiress, right? So everything she does is like on that level that we can't like fandom, right? But I thought that like Baekhyun was supposed to be more of the relatable person. It was supposed to be written that way, and I was just like why is this so perfect, right? But yeah, that is the first character, Baekhyun, that comes off as perfect. And I guess this is the like written by a woman thing. Like you can tell he was written by a woman because a guy would never write a male character to be this perfect, right? But again, this is not where I get like kind of this visceral reaction. I feel like Baekhyun's character to an extent is understandable in like how he acts. And if you like recall how he acted, especially in the first 2 episodes when he found out she was dying, you will like be okay kind of with his character to a certain extent. My issue is the second male lead, Ongain's brother, Ong Suchol. He is the one I have a beef with. And this is coming from like a girl that like I know the world is basically to an extent very sexist, very misogynistic, but like his character was difficult to watch and very, very unwatchable. For a bunch of reasons, right? But before I get to the reasons why his character is unrelatable, I'll talk about moments where he displayed this that, made no sense. So his wife, right, Chondahe, you find out that like she's obviously fake. She had a baby with somebody else and passed it off as his own. All this like terrible stuff she's basically done to him, right? Broken his trust and everything. Ong Sucho mopes around and starts crying, missing her, even after he finds out all this fact. And that to me makes no sense, right? Like, I mean, he like mopes, he like begs, he, telling her to please come back. And I'm just like, there's no way that this character exists. Like, when you find out that like your partner, right, a partner that you've chosen to spend the rest of your life with, basically cheated on you, passed off a random person's baby as your own, your reaction is not to like, I don't know, or maybe I'm the one that like does not know how like guys would react in the scenario, but for me, I would be so pissed. Not once, I mean, not even for a split second is Ong Suchol even mad. Like, he forgives them instantly, or maybe never like even had to forgive them because he was never mad in the first place. He never felt like maybe she did anything wrong. But like, he was so forgiving that like I couldn't understand that. He wanted them back so quickly that I couldn't understand how, right? I contrast him with Ha Do-young in The Glory. Also the same scenario, right? The villain in that story, the girl, she's sleeping with, ironically, the actor that plays Yoon Sung in this, Park Sung-hoon. She's sleeping with him and she has a daughter with him and passes off as her husband, Adoyoung's kid, right? Adoyoung at some point finds out about this. You can almost sense the like silent rage in certain moments, right? Where he's like talking to her, right? There's a point where I remember he like punches something, right? And you can just see the rage in him, right? Still, when he's talking to Mundongun, the female lead, right? He mentions that he's not leaving his wife. But you can tell it's not because he forgives her, he thinks what she did is okay, that he just doesn't care. No, you can tell to an extent it's because of the child, right? You can tell to an extent, even though yes, that is not biologically his daughter, he has grown to love, or he just loves that girl as his own, right? And to an extent, he's doing a lot of it because of that daughter of his, right? And so that one makes more sense. They've given you kind of a reason that a couple would want to be together or stay together even after like something terrible has happened between them, right? That is how I expected to an extent, Ong Sucho's character to like act. I'm not saying that like you shouldn't forgive and everything, but at least there should have been a moment where there was like rage, there was pain, and a kind of conflict for Ong Sucho on whether like he wants to stay with this person, right? As opposed to just like from the very get-go okay with what this person has done. Again, to an extent, he's also like doing it for his kid, but like I genuinely think that it's just like he wants his wife back too, and it never makes sense to me that like he would be that forgiving, especially, and this is the part that makes it unrealistic, especially because he's a chibol. He's supposed to be a chibol dude. Like he's supposed to have best of everything, right? He's supposed to have had that all his life. And so for him to like just be okay with his girl passing off someone else's child as his own, it makes no sense. His character is written in a very naive, very unrealistic way. And I was like, that makes no sense. This is just like they are writing to write because they know that the audience is like predominantly female, because it just rubbed me off the wrong way that she kind of just got away with all that she did to him. And it's like no one bats an eye, right? Like the only people that care are like his parents, right? And that makes sense because this girl is literally the worst, right? Like his wife is literally the worst, right? So that's something that I really struggled with in this, and it's just something I wanted to point out. So this isn't like a real review of Queen of Tears. It's just me like ranting about this one thing that like it's just like needling me. It's needling me, and I had to talk about it. So yeah, I mean, that's all I have for this episode. I don't have that much to talk about. I think this was generally a good drama. I really enjoyed it for the run, even though it took me forever to watch the last 4 episodes. I think it was still very, very good. So yeah, it's very fun. I'll probably rewatch it a few times. And yeah, that's all I have for this episode. Thank you guys so much for listening. I hope you guys have a lovely day. Bye.